We are alive. We do exist.
True.
We are also very gay. Hey, everybody. So, you're probably wondering where we've been for 2 months. And,
I'm wondering where we've been.
Good point. So, one of the things that we are cognizant of is the fact that we basically have been gone for quite a while. And there's probably a lot of people asking questions as to why was the channel content slowed down so far, and what was going on with us at the time, because we were being very vague on social media. And so to talk about that, I have to talk about a couple concepts. One of the things I need to bring up is that I am poly, as is Zezy.
Yes.
And while Zezy doesn't pursue a large number of partners, they prefer to hang out and educate and take care of baboos and do that fun stuff. I tend to date a decent number of people, and I have 4 partners and 1 or 2 playmates. One because of one of the people I'm already playing with, and another one wants to be a maid to my house while certain things are happening. Moving on. Anyway, the point being is that because of that, usually I'm able to handle this stuff pretty okay, because my borderline definitely gets triggered. There's definitely difficulties with it, but for the most part, I'm able to handle it and deal with it. The only person that's not true with was, up until the last 4 months, was Zezy, because Zezy is an FP. For those who don't know, in borderline personality disorder, which I am diagnosed with, there is a concept called FP, and that refers to favored person. And what this is, the idea is that there's a person who, for whatever reason, matches your psychology, matches your way of thinking, your internal narratives. And what ends up inevitably happening is you build a very, very quick connection with this person. Now, sometimes this can be a relative, sometimes it can be a friend, but where it gets really intense is when it is someone that you love, someone that you are romantically interested in. Then it becomes a thing. It's borderline. We have abandonment, extreme mood swings, unstable relationship, impulsive, self-destructive tendencies, unstable self-image, self-harm, paranoia, dissociation, chronic feelings of emptiness. One of the things that happened about 5 months ago, is I started talking to a girl that I've had a crush on for about a year. And this girl was somebody that I occasionally checked in on and just thought she was beautiful. She was a trans girl, and I thought she was absolutely radiant. And I literally was like, oh, I'm just not going to shoot my shot, because I am going to be very disappointed. Because a lot of very popular girls on Twitter have disappointed me for various reasons, either because they are incredibly weird about borderline, or for various reasons just don't seem to want to engage or whatnot. And so what happened is that I took my chance right around when I got bottom surgery, a little bit before, which was back in August. And around September 4th, I had been asking back and forth, hey, I want to date you. I really think you're beautiful. I think you're wonderful. I want to get to know you more. I know you have X number of other partners. I'm fine with that, but I really want to be with you. And so this person went to their other partners and proceeded to, talk to them, see what how they felt. They were fine.
Go through that polycules protocols.
Yeah, and long story short, well, not a polycule, because I think the other people aren't with each other, but basically, long story short, is
group of poly people.
Yeah, a poly network, whatever. Yeah. But the point being is that what inevitably ended up happening is they decided it was fine. I got to start dating the girl I've had a crush on for over a year, and it was very, very nice. And there have been some missteps because this person became an FP. Now, with most borderline people, you get 1, but there are cases in which some people will get 2. And so feelings of disconnection from either Zena or this other person will cause me to get into panic attacks, things like that. It is not fun. And because of some of the early missteps in the relationship, such as, a boundary being missed, not intentionally, just being missed, going into a lot of detail about previous sexual experiences, which is something that's a trigger for me. Bringing up too much information about partners or interactions can be really rough. Bringing up, desires that come up because of BPD, like there's a tendency to overly fantasize about the future. Bringing that to the person, and the other person sort of doesn't interact with it great.
Or rebuffs in some format.
Yeah, and so the problem is none of these are on her. These are things that most people would never even think of.
Well, and refresher for borderline too. Borderline really, really does have to do with abandonment. That is a really big core thing about it. And that can be real or perceived. Both count. And both will bring up very, very extreme emotions about that. You know, it is pretty well known that, like, a lot of times with, like, mood and emotions, a lot of borderline people with borderline feel that very intensely. So, like, if the max that, you know, that the general population might feel is like a 10, your person with borderline might be at like an 11. And that's just all the time. Like, there's a lot of really big, intense emotion, which, you know, you can kind of see demonstrated throughout, like, the picture that Poppy shared. And
long story short is that I had never had this situation happen before. I have never had another partner who became an FP. So having two FPs suddenly threw me for a loop because all of the personal work that I'd done over the last 15 years didn't feel as effective. And again, none of this was Zezy's fault. None of this was anyone else's fault. It just kind of what was. One of the major reasons why we've been away is that over the last 2 months, starting in November, my partner went to the other side of the country to visit another partner, one who, due to a mistake done early on, had been coded in my brain as unsafe, which, again, I don't believe that's actually true, but that's the way my brain coded it. The last 2 months have been hell.
a lot of chaos.
Not because of anyone's fault, but because dealing with two FPs who may get into conflict, which then causes me to feel torn in half, and not to mention a bunch of other things, ended up bringing up some really, really difficult emotions. A lot of feelings of worthlessness, a lot of feelings of being unworthy, a lot of, I'll be honest, desire for self-harm and suicidal ideations. There was a couple times during this last couple months where there was a legitimate concern that I might harm myself. So much so that the two firearms we own were moved to a friend's house. And again, I don't put this on either of my partners. I don't put this on any of my friends. I haven't had to deal with a new FP, a new favorite person, in 7 years, 6 or 7 years since I started with Zezy. And I ended up being in a really, really rough situation where, the girl of my dreams, essentially, I was afraid that I would lose her at any moment. And especially during this trip, I've talked about this on the channel before, but a lot of people here are new, so I'll just reiterate this, is I have trauma around people dying. In 2004, my partner, my wife, was riding a horse. She was an expert rider, had done dressage, I think is the word. And what ended up happening was she was just riding slowly down the street, didn't have a helmet on because she didn't think she needed one. Again, they were just walking the horses slowly on top of them. And a dog ran out of someone's property, scared the horse, knocked her down, hit her head, and she never woke up again. And then suffered brain death 5 days later, leaving me a widower and leaving me with a 4-year-old. I have very real trauma and memories around what I saw when I got to that road and saw what was all over it. And it was not great. I won't go into details. When I get paranoid about my relationships because of BPD, it doesn't just come up as a fear of, in some way, the person cheating on me or leaving me. Sometimes I'm just actively afraid they're going to fucking die.
Well, and your brain actually has
data points to prove it.
Yeah, data points to prove it, and also like memories of what a loved one dying looks like. It can almost, I think, be more, just as difficult as the times where your brain's coming up with like fantasies. Or not. I don't want to say like not like the good kind of fantasies, but like usually I think we say intrusive thoughts. It is somewhat of a different game when you are dealing with a way that your brain has a way to kind of make fears come real or feel as real as possible.
Yeah. So one of the things that came up was that between this trip, which I want to be really clear, my partner was amazing for. We ended up creating some relationship accommodations. There were regular calls, which unfortunately led to some fights with Zezy, but that happens. What ended up happening is, what I'm trying to convey here is not looking for necessarily sympathy for my wife. I mean, this was a long time ago. We're literally next year, it'll be 20 years. So when I say that I'm not as affected by that as I once was, I mean it. The issue I have is that now this stuff comes into my current relationships, especially with FPs. And so this week that I went through was hell. But my partner stayed with me and worked with me, and Zezy, when they were able to, were supportive, and we got through it. But over the last 2 months, this prompted some other things to happen. One of my partner's partners was supposed to block me after the whole kerfluffle at the beginning of the relationship. It was decided just to keep me separate from the other ones because I just didn't feel safe with them. And so I said, just block me, I'll block you. We're just going to be mutually blocked. We can try to fix it later.
Well, and BPD is very, very good at the impulsive stuff. And, you know, some of the other, there are different ways that like comparing yourself to others can come up for BPD.
In fact, going onto other people's social media, looking at their pictures, things like that can easily start turning into digital self-harm. And so I had asked for all these people to block me because I wanted the other number of partners to not have access to me. And
for you to not have a bad moment either and go searching their stuff.
Well, what happened was one of the people in question never blocked me and then lied about it. And I ended up just going with it because I didn't want to cause another fight with my other FP. And so this created an unfortunate problem where I was still seeing this. And then when I was in a really bad moment at night, I ended up continually going to this person's stuff, looking at stuff where they were interacting with my partner, seeing them be romantically interactive, getting really triggered, yada, yada, yada. It was not fun. I ended up making the ideations worse because I know of this, the story, the kerfluffle that created this whole thing. It ended up being a big trigger for me and bringing up intrusive thoughts. The reason why I don't like to hear about my partner's previous sexual exploits, especially with current partners, is that I will start seeing them graphically, visually in my head. They are intrusive thoughts. They are not sexy. They are not fun. They are painful, and I feel like I'm dying. To put this in perspective, my point is that I want to give you the framework of kind of what's going on. Now, long story short, is I'm doing much better now. I've been back in therapy, been dealing with my therapist, who is one of the heads of one of the counseling programs. And she's amazing. She's a wizard. Zezy's been coming to sessions with me, which is really nice. Things have been slowly but surely getting better with my other partner. Slowly but surely making our way to being a little bit more functional and dealing with some things. Like, for example, discussions of future stuff, because we are all adults here and that stuff's important. And right now the partner in question is struggling with a very hard decision, which I do not envy. Basically deciding, does she go to one partner and potentially lose this relationship because it fades off because me being away from FPs is not great? Or does she, eventually somewhere in a year or two down the line choose to be with me and Zena?
In some format,
but the potential of that other relationship fading off. I don't know why. That's just what was said. I bring this up because I love this person deeply. She is amazing. She is absolutely gorgeous. I have not been this profoundly in love since this one, which has brought some headache up because most of the time my other partners don't occupy my brain 24/7, or I don't get stuck on a problem because I'm trying to grind it out and figure out how to fix it. So I wanted to give this thing because we're going to talk about other stuff, but I want to be really clear that, like, beyond the stuff that was going on with me, there's other stuff with Zezy. Zezy can talk about that for them. But the reason I wanted to bring this up is because we're trying to set the stage to understand that the reason why we've been away has only been partially due to some of the things happening with the channel and because of former friends of the channel. The majority of it has been very real relationship stuff that has brought up very real depression, not to mention work being difficult, not to mention, certain things from this side of my life affecting another side of my life and potentially almost being forced to choose between the continuation of
one job versus
the other. There is a chance that something like that could be a thing. So we're just in some ways trying to figure out how to move forward so that everyone can be happy. That's where I've been at. It's been not fucking fun. I am, however, deeply in love with both my primary partners. My other partners I love deeply as well. Holy shit. Get to this weekend, go hang out in a hotel room with my fiance and my mate and I. Holy crap. Like, best Christmas ever. Man. Zezy?
Yeah, why don't we...
What has been going on with you for the last 2 months?
A lot of my stuff honestly kind of revolves around Poppy, and I don't want that to sound bad. Holding Poppy through a lot of this has definitely been a thing. A new FP kind of shook up our world because we really didn't plan or prepare for that. And so we were coming off of also vaginoplasty too, right? Like, all of the aftermath of that was weird. We had to refigure out a bunch of Poppy's medications too. So there was a good couple of months even before that where we were like, okay, what's going on? Why is all the motivation gone? Or why are there so many memory issues or confusion? Well, turns out Poppy needed a bit more tea in our system because every human needs at least a little bit of testosterone to function. By the way, get your hormones checked. Everyone deserves to have functioning hormones. Thank you. That caused issues for months until we figured out what was going on. Eventually got that stuff fixed, got better levels of other medications in Poppy's system. So a few of them went up.
There's been so much going on, I literally forgot.
Oh, no. This was September, October, that really set up the stage to get us into November. All of it's been a mess. A lot of upsetness, a lot of happiness too, though. I've been having a really hard time keeping up with friends. There's been a lot of migraines, a lot of stress. My physical therapy came to an end, which I'm actually really sad about because I really like the people that I saw. I can always go back if I need to, but, it's a matter of, convincing insurance. So I am really, really... I think that's probably the biggest win one of the bigger wins lately, especially with my health, is going to PT. And so we help strengthen, shoulders, neck, back, kind of all that area to keep everything strengthened. So that way, like, it doesn't break out as hard. There's a number of exercises that I can do regularly to help keep migraines away or to help relieve symptoms. I still get migraines sometimes, but a lot of times they're way more mild and I'm not getting wrecked by them so much afterwards. I'm really happy with that. We also bought a Theracane, which is like big cane with a bunch of different knobs on it. And it comes with a good, cute little booklet. And you can basically give yourself a massage. It's in a cane, so you can use the leverage of it in any which direction to hit pressure points all over your body to help relieve those. And I am really, really happy with that. Yeah, it's just nice to actually like have professionals that know about migraines, because I've done physical therapy before with people who have no idea what they're doing. And it's just not the same. Like, it does not work. You really, really need people who know what they're doing for migraines. Besides the physical therapy, a lot of things have been figuring out, accommodations for Poppy, figuring out how this even works, refiguring out like self-control, and we need to have a bedtime again has been a huge one. Because we will easily stay up, and if both of us are not paying attention, we both will do that. And with Poppy, who's FP is on an opposite schedule to us usually, is also very easy to stay up with them. So I think that's just some of the big things. Where you thinking, love?
So I guess the other things I wanted to bring up were just like, I want you guys to understand the timeline of this year, because I need you to understand like why this year has been hell. And this isn't me whining. This is just, I need you to understand that like this has been really hard. Back around May, we nearly lost a person we deeply care for. Turned out that that person was surrounded by a group of people that were isolating and alienating them, which is not a great thing to do to someone with borderline. No, it wasn't me. And that person attempted to unalive themselves and failed. Good. Once we found out these people were hiding information from us and were separating things out, we ended up booting them from our server, from our life. Some of these people were former friends or partners. Some of them were former mods. A partner that I had been with, I ended up breaking up with because she had broken her word. And she subsequently has started a hate campaign against me, accusing me of everything under the sun, from gaslighting people, manipulating people, and then now saying that I am weird around minors. Pretty fucking awful. Summer was uneventful because we were just doing a lot.
Summer was uneventful, but we were fighting a lot because we were dealing with a lot of past trauma coming up.
Yep.
In relationship to like surgery, and there was a lot of things that were like shifting out at that time. We can always go into that more later, but
long story short is August is when I had my bottom surgery, which, if those who don't know, my bottom surgery went great. The issue is that it's still a very, very traumatic thing to go through, because there's a lot of healing and a lot of stuff. And let's be honest, getting used to a new body part takes time. In fact, last week, I didn't tell you guys this, but last week I had to go in for a follow-up because there was concerns about some of the healing they weren't super thrilled with, and I had to go in. They had to knock me out and basically cauterize a couple places. It was more scientific than that, but that's the short version. That wasn't fun. Even after bottom surgery, one of my relationships started kind of faltering. We had a falling out with not only a particular person we've platformed, who we will no longer platform, but also lost a mod in the process and lost connection to a number of people who were allies of ours. Following that, there was a threat of being doxxed and a threat of coming to my home and physically attacking me over literally nothing. Someone manufactured an idea in their head and basically ran with it. And then subsequently, another content creator decided to use that as an opportunity and start posting really, really bad information about my parts of my life, and this started impacting me in various ways.
There's even people taking it out on me too.
Between the ex, the former person we platformed, and then this other content creator, there's been 3 separate hate campaigns sort of going on here, because people have manufactured in their head that we're bad guys, that we're terrible, we're awful, abusive people, and we've done all of these things that they've made up in their heads. None of these things are true. None of them are whatever. I'm not doing this as like an apology video or like a pushback video. I'm just telling you what happened. This is what happened. Got into a new relationship, like I said, that was very, very intense. Zezy had to deal with a lot of stuff around that as well. My year has been really hard. Zezy's year has been really hard.
Well, and just to be clear, especially if people are new or haven't seen some of our past stuff, Poppy's obviously a trans woman, okay, xenogender and all that.
Which means I'm usually hated immediately.
Yeah. And I am trans mask, so I usually get the opposite of usually ignoring really sneaky stuff. Usually stuff towards me isn't open, which is a really weird feeling to be in, because like on the one hand I would like my part, and infantilized, yeah, like it's a weird feeling to be in because I don't want my partner to get harassment, but it also sucks getting it myself too. So I've almost been avoiding a lot of excess stuff, a lot of stuff that causes just excess stress. Like I really hate the dichotomy that all of us directed at her because I wish it wasn't. And so it's weird having both of us kind of have to live and deal with this at the same time, where I've actually started getting more direct stuff at me. It's also a weird feeling because I haven't dealt with that largely since grade school. Like, there's been some other times, but most of it was in grade school.
We are still here. I'm doing better. The issue is that this has been really hard, and we've had a lot of friends come and help us. We've had a lot of people be here and support us, but I'm tired.
That's true.
I miss streaming. I miss being able to talk with you guys. I miss being able to go over stuff and try to, figure it out together.
No, I do too. I felt like I was kind of finally feeling in the swing of things. A couple years, but I actually felt like I was getting kind of comfortable for once with streaming.
What's really weird about hate campaigns is no matter what you do, people will find a reason to be upset about it. So the only thing I've been doing is entering raffles, and because I've posted reference sheets that were, to my knowledge at the time, just completely, were edited enough to be fine, or at least considered safe for work. Some people got mad, and I went through and re-edited them, and I did it again. Now they're as far as clean as I can make them, and they should be safe for work and good. People will find any post they can and immediately start changing it to anything. I had people find my account on a website where I do role-playing that involves kink, and decide that because I was open to engaging in certain types of kinks, that this meant that I was some sort of predator, which, by the way, is just trans misogyny. The implication that role-playing something means that you are going to do a thing is weird, and also very kink-shamey, and also very weird. I just got nothing.
And there was even some weird person who was just angry that Poppy was entering raffles in the first place. It was no, Poppy's entering too many. And I'm like, this is raffles with thousands of other people. What the fuck?
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, it's I love pancakes. Well, I didn't know you hated waffles. It's literally that. And it's just puritanical bullshit. These people literally think that they're doing the best thing ever, when in reality, they're just doing harm to a trans woman is, the only person working in our household because the other person deals with chronic illness. No wonder I've had to start using edibles because my anxiety has been through the roof. And again,
mine too.
Yeah, and I don't blame my partner. I hate it. This year has been really rough, but out of it, I got another partner who I really love, and got another partner who I really deeply like. And yeah, these people have gone so far as to message artists and tell them a very, very weird story with very contextless screenshots, and basically try to get that artist not to work with me. It's only happened with one. But yeah, I literally lost an artist. The artist who did the Poppy Wise picture. This one. The artist who did this one, I won't say her name because she's really great. But because they decided to just message this person out of nowhere and tell them a bunch of nonsense that they made up, I can't get art from this person anymore. It's too much of a liability. Yeah, one of the things that we've had to deal with as well is that, for those who don't know, I don't talk about this on the channel a ton, but I identify as plural. For those who don't know what that means that I am diagnosed with a disorder that means that I have multiple personalities. In this case, the one that I'm diagnosed with is OSDD1, which is basically similar to DID, but your personalities are aware of one. My personalities are Poppy, Penny, and Pepper. Pepper being the newest one. Through a lot of therapy and work, right before my bottom surgery, there was a lot of work. A lot of the things that were causing fights between us in the summer got worked through, and it ended up being, a young and alter who has, a spider as her persona. And
spider, we mean a combination of a spider and a tiger.
And so that's been a new thing. There's just so many things that have been going on as far as things we've been trying to get the house organized. We're actually going to move out of this room. We're going to use the other room that we have open, the one with the kids' room, and that one is going to become the office/streaming room. And then this is going to become our bedroom again, because overestimated the amount of room we would need for an office and underestimated the amount of room we would need for a bedroom.
We had much more grand plans at the start of this, and then eventually we also went, there's a lot of road noise on the other side.
It also turned out it was really cold in that room, and the reason we realized that is because part of the window was open.
That too.
We're getting house organizations. We've also been dealing with a lot of headaches, storms, things like that have been really problematic. Getting used to just being me and Zezy now that my kid left. Trying to keep up with friends is difficult. Therapy with Poppy has been very intense. Zezy's gotten to see how great my therapist is, and is probably going to be starting up therapy again soon.
That one's been really meaningful to me. Really cool to finally get to meet the person that Poppy's been seeing for years.
I've been seeing them as long as I've been dating you.
Oh yeah.
Because I met you in in May, and then I started working with them in August.
Well, and the thing too is if any of you have a partner with borderline, or you have borderline, I really do suggest having some group sessions occasionally, at the very least. And not that you always have to have a couples therapist, but you really can talk to your therapist and be like, hey, can I bring, so and so? Can we do that? And have them come to a session, talk about with them. The
other thing is that, despite some of the kerfluffles that happened with my newer partner, I will say that, despite that, I really appreciate her. She's hung in there. I know I've mentioned some of the bad, but, I've sung that song by Tonic, You Can Only See the Way She Loves Me. I forget the name of the song specifically. That song was actually sung because of her, because there's a way in which, despite all of the issues, I really dig this person, and they keep trying and they keep sticking around. Every time I think, my nonsense is going to scare them off, I am surprised. They chose me over a partner they had previously been with because that partner had acted in bad faith and toxic. And that's a lot. So we are back. The intent is to go back to streaming once a week. We'd like to do more, but we have to keep up on life stuff. Ideally, if we can make this deal with a particular person who wants to come do housework for us for a very unusual fee, if that ends up happening, we might be able to have more help, which means streaming may happen more often. This year, we're going to be trying to get Zezy Social Security because, unfortunately, them going back to work just doesn't seem like a thing is going to happen as of yet. A lot of their symptoms have gotten better. They're able to eat certain foods, at least in small doses, but it's still an uphill battle, and it's still them being chronically ill, and some days just sleeping through the whole day, and it's hard.
I was just going to say, as far as just going to go over some of the positive stuff, I think. One of the really cool things is that we've been getting to see a lot more of Bun's personality. Now it's just Poppy and I here. She is very stubborn. Her emotions are just very out and loud now of, no, guys, I want this thing. Guys, I want the treats. She has also gotten very stubborn in her adult years. It's quite cute. And at the same time, she's still very good at being super gentle and easygoing about people handling her. So it's a weird dichotomy to have this dog be utterly stubborn and sit there and stare at you for half an hour until you magically somehow guess the thing that she wants. One of the accommodations for us that we've started doing, especially after bottom surgery, was just taking her to the groomers to get bathed occasionally. We use a special soap that helps with people allergies as well as hers. So we just have them use that. But it's one of those things where yeah, we could do it ourselves, but also it makes it so much easier when we don't have to be the ones leaning over. We don't have to worry about migraines getting in the way. And she's super, super good for the people that wash her now. After going a few times, she went from utterly shy to hey, I'm gonna come say hi to everybody now. And now you guys all love me and I'm your favorite dog. So it's been really rewarding to see Bun really open up and get more and more used to being in the world. At least when we need to bring her on the world, we still usually kind of keep her homebound because we know that there's a lot of anxiety in our past, but it's been nice to see her open up.
We also got to meet a new playmate who has been really great in our lives and been around often. Also got to help them get consultation for SRS, bottom surgery. It's actually funny because my girlfriend, the one I'm going to see next month, she's coming out here, and I'm going to be taking her for her consultation with the same doctors because I like Henry Ford. The other thing is that, beyond just having that, we've been reconnecting a little bit more with some of our friends in some of the nearby cities, and that's been really nice. Had a really great Thanksgiving. One of our friends just graduated from a master's program, which is really cool. There are good things happening. It's just hard with everything else going on. And
there's a lot of emotions. One of the other things that we've done is for accommodations lately is doing good nights at a certain time. So by usually about 2, the goal is to have to say goodnight to people. That gives Poppy and everyone in her system a chance to say goodnight. Same thing with me. That way, we kind of covered all the partners. And it's just the intent was initially to get us to go to bed on time. Right? That way there was a good end point of conversations. But I've also been just really enjoying having the ritual too of just saying goodnight to people, and it's just always kind of constant check-in. It's always that little reminder of hey, no, we're here. Especially some of the partners that we don't get to talk to as much or as often as we would like, or with conflicting schedules. It's nice to still have just that little message back and forth. So I really like it. Also, I think it has been bringing a lot of stability to our situation in the system, especially with BPD, because rituals like that are just
helpful.
Yeah, they're helpful. And they keep reminding you that the person's coming back, the person is there. There is consistency. There's something to count on.
So I think that's everything as far as updates. And, we love you guys. We're sorry we've been away, but we only would do it. We're not going anywhere permanently unless we have to, but we've had a rough time. And we appreciate all the support. People have reached out and said, really appreciate us. And we've been apologetic about not being able to. Everybody's been really understanding. And some of this stuff we just can't go into details on because we've been informed not to in certain cases. So again, it is what it is. We'll have this one here, and we'll see you guys in the next one, okay? All right, bye.